All right, all right, all right. Welcome back to another exciting episode of the HHC podcast. I am your host, Jacob Moreno, and I'm here with my brothers Chris and Juan. We haven't been on in the last couple weeks. How have y'all been? Juan, I'm gonna start with you.
You know, been all right. Just getting through life.
I feel you. I feel you. Exams, college in general. It's been hitting me and work. I'll be having to get up at like 4 o'clock in the morning to be at work at 5 o'clock. So
Mm-mm.
if y'all can
Yep.
see some bags under my eyes, then y'all know why. Y'all know why. But Chris, how you been?
I've been good. The opposite. It was All-Star break, and I was out of town for a wedding, so I was kind of chill. And well, I mean, work is crazy, but work is fun. So I can never really complain about that side. So, um, I'm doing good. I'm glad to be here with you guys.
Yeah, of course, of course. Well, we usually try to come on weekly at the 10 a.m.s every Sunday, where we do go to all three platforms of Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. All of which you can catch us at live at the 10 a.m.s, or if you cannot catch us during the live showings, we will have the VODs on all three platforms as well. Make sure that you do follow us on Twitter at Heroes Half Court, where we do talk about the Spurs on the near daily. We love having a lot of the discourse with NBA Twitter and our brother Chris showed out the I think like last week or something like that with the banger tweet. So, or it was like I think maybe like a week and a
Which
half
one?
ago or
Which
something
one?
like that.
Which one is that? Oh, the video
The
of the
yeah, the
that it was
video.
funny. Yeah, it
It
was a
was a
funny video.
funny it was a funny little video, and Chris was able to garner a lot of attention with that. So we always like to have a lot of NBA discourse about our Spurs basketball team. So but we have a lot to talk about. Considering that we haven't been able to be on in a little bit. With All Star breaks and all that kind of stuff. Trying to make sure that we're giving ourselves a good chance to have a break, as well as like you know, there's not a lot of Spurs basketball going on around that time. What can we really talk about?
Yeah.
But in that time we have played a good couple games. Jeremy went to the All Star weekend to participate in the Rising Stars challenge, and in terms of what we'll be talking about today, we saw like a little bit of Keldon Johnson discourse over Twitter, as well as like just some stuff about Malachi, and then we'll be kind of going into what our like post All Star break team is looking like. So, but yeah, I'll bring it back to Jeremy real quick, just because I was watching the Jazz game the other day, or earlier today. Sorry, I was watching the Jazz game from the other day, earlier today. There we go. And so, I was only able to watch like the first half before we got on live, and Jeremy, he's so killer. He is just so killer, and it was amazing to see kind of like what he was doing out there on the court, and then obviously we saw like the little like scuffle between him and Chris Dunn in I think the second quarter, and it was really cool. It was really cool to see Jeremy like not back down and step up and always be ready for that kind of stuff, because I feel like every single time that like a little like, I don't want to call it a fight because it definitely wasn't a fight, but like anytime a little like heated exchange happens, it's because Jeremy did something. So it's always funny that Jeremy's like always in the middle with all that kind of stuff, and I love to see it. I love to see it because that type of competition, I feel like it's amazing for the sport. I'm sure Chris Dunn and Jeremy don't have any ill will towards each other, but like in the game, in the heat of the moment, they're both enemies at this point. So you're just like, all right, like let's see these guys like take it to each other now. And so it was really awesome to see Jeremy. But Chris, have you did you watch the game the other night? Were you able to kind of catch things?
Yeah. Well, just kind of going backwards even more, like All-Star Weekend didn't really get a chance to check that out, so I didn't get to see Jeremy in the I did see like a little one picture of his dunk, right? He had like a dunk in the game. So I hope he enjoyed the weekend and all that kind of stuff. And then from an entertainment standpoint, I hope I hope that game at least or a few of them were, it was worth it. But just like post All-Star break, a lot of the same stuff, right? The main thing that I kind of wrote down from like a standpoint of just what have I seen is more from Pop's point of view. I've been enjoying the I think it was the Dallas pre-game interview, and then it was the Jazz post-game interview last night. And he just had like some good things to say, and so I kind of wanted to start there for me, just because like this is kind of like where my brain was at going out of the gate too. He was like, I think in the Dallas pregame, he was kind of saying like, we're gonna go out there. He's like, I think tonight there's gonna be pick and roll involved. He was like, maybe we should communicate a little bit, get down on defense. He was like, maybe block out. How about we box out? And the way he was a little, it's being a little tongue in cheek, a little like facetious, but at the same time, he's pointing out like we're struggling doing what is the easy stuff, and he was like, it's not that hard. It's not that hard out there. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of where my head has been too, like most of the year, right? And trying to fight the feeling of like, all right, I don't want to feel like I have a short leash on everybody because we're struggling with all this stuff. You want to give them the freedom and the time to like work through these things, but at the same time, it's like, how can I really like try to give anybody benefit of the doubt when we're just giving up late game rebounds because we don't box out? You know what I mean? It's like trying to find that balance. So I was just glad that he was kind of framing it that way. So that's kind of the stuff that I was looking for. I'll be honest. I felt like last night against the Jazz, I felt like that was probably one of my favorite games to watch. In watching Zach Collins play, and I think it's just because by nature of him sliding into that starting position, he kind of gets the all the big responsibilities that Yak used to have to do, right? And how many times do you remember Yak being out there and you knew he was like going like one big versus two bigs, or like versus one solid big and two like almost two bigs on the other team? You know what I'm saying? And so you knew it was like a stacked fight, and that last night felt like that. It was like you had Kessler, and you had Markkanen, and they had like two or three other guys that just had length all the time out on the court. And so having to see him like kind of have dual assignments most possessions, held Kessler in check pretty well in that first half. So like I felt like the energy was there from a lot of our guys. You know what I'm saying? So we can dig a little deep. I'll let you guys kind of open the floor up more to talk about other people, but just from a standpoint of like, are we trying to put our heads in the right place and make the right plays? I think we're headed there. So I'm okay. I'm okay with it sucks 16 losses in a row, but I'm okay with kind of the way that we've responded so far, leaving All-Star break. But Juan, I'll let you jump in.
Yeah. So one of the bigger comments right before All-Star break was Pop finally like, unleashing on all the young guys, and he's like was tired of it. All the defensive miscommunications, anything like, that we all see, and Pop just finally let it all out. And, you're not expecting too much from these like guys who have like a week off. It's going to be a rough game to start off, but just for that first Mavs game to be the first game back from break and to allow 140 points, like, yeah, it's a little like frustrating, and you don't expect anything to flip overnight, and then especially not over an All-Star break. But then when they come back against Utah and they kind of get after them in the first half, and you start to see a little bit of like, yeah, this is what we're supposed to be doing, like disrupting and playing defense. And then immediately you see it all fall apart in the second half again. And I don't know, like obviously there's like a difference between tanking and just being really, really bad. And sometimes like I don't want to believe we're like on Houston's level of just like, oh God, we're terrible. Like I just there's got to be some sort of leniency that Pop is just not enforcing. I feel like at halftime or something that just like the guys come out and just throw the game away in the second half. How many games this year have we seen? And Pop made the comment of like, we compete for 36 minutes of the game, and then and we throw it away. That's like tanking. It's like you just don't want to compete the final.
Well, and I love the way he said. So it was yesterday's post game. He said, and I'm paraphrasing, but he said like, we're not mature enough, or they're not mature enough to realize that they have to keep that intensity up that they can't just let off, because then it changes.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm choosing to believe that, like, that is how it is. You know what I mean? Like, I deal with that kind of stuff too, right? Like dealing with like students, right? And the idea of like, okay, I'm just gonna have to keep saying the same thing to you again and again and again and again and again, and at some point, through practice and through repetition and through, you know what I mean, or if you can just get them to buy in, right, to the idea of they have to do it, and then they can hopefully do it on their own without you yelling at them to do it. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
like, sometimes that it does feel like you're just kind of talking to a brick wall in some aspects. So, like, I can sympathize with that part of it. So I don't know, man. I'm with you on that too. When you think about like comparing yourself to Houston, where you're like, there's obvious differences in our organizations, and
Yeah.
that might be the deciding factor right now between what we are and what they are, because talent wise, you can see that we're we're
Yeah.
close.
Yeah. um, as far as Jeremy, his play, obviously he missed the Mavericks game, which I guess showed up a little bit late to that. That was the game that was delayed, and they did just air a lot of that pop pregame talk, like during the usual broadcast time. But I'm not really sure why Jeremy was able to like miss that game. But the All Star game, he was able to show a lot of his talents and his physical traits and his you know it was just cool to see him on the national stage. I think he even got like play of the game with that dunk of his little game, and they like highlighted it. So it's cool to just see like the national audience kind of get a look at what Jeremy Sohan is and what he brings. They even ended up like saying a tagline. Him and Paulo are the only rookies in the NBA this year with like 400. Was it 250 or 200, 200? Basically, just like him
It's
and
a stat
Paulo
line that only him and Paulo have.
Paulo have, which is like 400 points, 200 rebounds, 200. Like they do a
A bit
little
of
bit of
everything.
everything,
Yeah.
and you it's pretty much just like 10, 5, and 5 over 50 games. But it's like it's impressive because Jeremy's up there, and not a lot of other rookies. It's like we haven't had like a thing like that. And I know we'll talk about Malachi later, but like when's the last time we had rookies come in here and be like at the top or like provide that much? Like the top rookies across the league do. I know Josh is a real big advocate of like hating every draft pick we have and we should have drafted somebody else, but it's like it's a good reminder of yeah, like we drafted a good player and just give him time to develop and give him the opportunity to flourish. And the All Star weekend was one of that. And then the Utah game, he comes out very aggressive, which I think again he had like 15 points at half, and he only ended up with like 20 something. We've seen a lot of Spurs players do that over the years. Like have a really strong first half, not able to put it together. And he's only 19, so it's like you can't really hold too much against him. He's aggressive. He tried to posterize somebody from like looked like he jumped way too far out and like almost missed. I don't know if you saw that. If you guys saw that against Utah, like he's really aggressive. But what I like from Jeremy is his like little post up turnaround fadeaway. Now
Mm-hmm.
he looks comfortable getting to that spot.
He seems to enjoy. I wrote that in my notes too. He seems to like almost prefer to go like through the contact instead of trying to go around you or something like that. Uh, uh, um, and it's way different because he's like getting into people's body, right? It's way different, but it just reminds me a little bit of like like when you see nowadays people talk about Tim Duncan like Kevin Garnett or like these older like big men, right? The ones that have the podcast and they're all doing their stories and all that kind of stuff. And they always talk about like how Timmy's just gonna take Timmy's shot, whatever he wants, and sometimes it's a high percentage, sometimes it's not, but it's because that's what he wanted to do, right? Sometimes he would show you the ball, you know what I mean? And wisdom would say, don't show the player the ball that's too close, that's easier for them to block. But Tim would do it all the time, right? And it kind of feels like Sohan has that in him of like, this might not be the best shot for everybody, but I like this shot. You know what I'm saying? So the more he does it, you just start to feel a little bit more comfortable with it each game or as time passes.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. And like, just like even more on Jeremy's game, y'all are talking about his offense capabilities, the things that he's been like improving on through the year. And man, this dude's like his passing is still like it's still like really good. And like you can just tell when they're in transition and Jeremy gets the ball, it's like I feel like it's almost guaranteed that we're gonna get a bucket, or at least we're gonna get an open look to a bucket, because we might not score. But like um, like literally like when Jeremy gets that ball in transition, um, it's almost and I don't like comparing him to this guy, but it's almost like what Ben Simmons looked like when he was like really good in Philly, because when he was in transition and he was like just becoming that like freaking point forward on the floor like that, like Ben was finding his guys all over the place and getting open looks for everybody, and again.
I like to kind of compare it to like the Draymond Green, right? When he was, especially when he was younger, and he would just catch the ball and just push it straight. He would push it
Yes.
with his speed, with like short bursts, or he would just look to pass, right? But what you're saying is like you could guarantee that if he was going to do it, he was either going to find somebody that was going to start something, or he would just know when to pull it back and give it to Steph and give it to and let's go the other route. You know what I'm saying? So
Exactly, and Jeremy does the exact same thing on the floor, because it's just like, and you just see it like when we do get that ball in transition and Jeremy is out there, like because he was just on the perimeter rather than having to go get the board, like that right there just makes it like so much like of a faster push for us, because the second he gets the ball, they're like, okay, well, we need to get to our spots because Jeremy's gonna find us, and it's just like it always looks good whenever I see him.
I wish this is a different one, but I wish we had somebody who was fast enough to keep up with Wesley, man, so that his breaks, because every time he goes, you think the opposite. You're like, oh boy, what are we gonna see? But nobody's fast enough to keep up with him. So by the time he gets to the basket, there's no options but to just
yeah.
No, it's been cool to see Blake Wesley, and we can kind of bring this into our rookie talk of the day, right? Because we've been seeing Jeremy play, and Blake's looking very very raw, like little spurts of amazing, little spurts of oh my goodness, what are you doing on the floor?
We're starting to see more though.
He had a good
Yeah,
like 3 or 4 possession stretch against Dallas. You guys catch that? It started with the well, actually, I forget what started it, but just the bounce pass or the bounce off of Luka's back, inbounds himself, dunks it. He comes back with like a steal immediately, and like he had hit like a shot like in the middle of all that. It was a pretty good little stretch for him. Like you start to see a little bit of the stuff, start to figure out for him, and it's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
The Jazz last night, he had a little in the clutch of the game. I think I mean, at that point it was on the. I think we were like on an outside shot of still kind of being in the game, and he gets a little a good little tip on the ball off the defender's leg out of the bounds on the and then I think they sat him like right after that. But
yeah, because he was getting ready to sub out, but he was just being active. I think on the play before that he had just like drove straight to the basket, and then he gets it out, and he I loved his excitement. He knows he was subbing out of the game, but he did that for the team and was able to get the ball back for his team and still was like fine with that.
Yeah, and actually, I think it was like right around that same time, right before he sat, he found a shot, a wide open three on the right side coming from the left side. He kind of penetrates in, just makes a good read. I don't think we made the shot, to be honest.
Yeah.
But again, putting together 2 or 3 good plays here and there helps you feel better about the 1 or 2 plays where he goes crazy running with the ball in his hands or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So love to see that from him.
No, I mean, and all three of our rookies have been just like super exciting to watch, and I honestly, like again, we talk about like the short leash because that is like a thing that's been used like almost every year for the last like 5-6 years, so we saw how that affected our players, what it does to them and stuff like that, and now we're not seeing that short leash really be put on these guys. We're letting if Blake Wesley was on any version of the Spurs from 2016 to 2019, like there's no way he's seeing play time after like.
I know you're young, Jake, but you could have just said like the last 25 years, like the whole Tim Duncan.
Yeah, I know. But I'm thinking modern. So
okay.
Either way.
And it's interesting though because there is an alternate universe where either A, Pop starts to feel this way or the front office starts to feel this way sooner, and we get DeJounte and Lonnie and Derek and Yak and with the free reign to be young and make mistakes and maybe lose games, or I don't know, or you push that up and we still have them and now finally they get to do their thing. I don't know, but there's like an alternate universe where that happened with those guys, right? So it's a this is who we get to see it now with. It was with this new squad.
Yeah, and so it is like exciting to see Blake be able to go out there, make more than just one mistake, and obviously you see Pop like they'll see Blake make a mistake, and then they're like, all right, show Pop, and like Pop's reactions to it, like every time, like it's funny to me, or I'm like, you know, in the same vein of Pop. I'm like, Blake, what are you doing? Like, what's going on? Come on now. And he still gets to be out there for at least another mistake or two before Pop's finally like, all right, go to the bench, get out of here right now, like you're done.
Before we move to Malachi and to stick with the Blake stuff, I know we had talked about Devontae Graham, because you know he had like that amazing game to start off his first game with the Spurs. Well, Blake's little bump in production and productivity, and Devontae's kind of struggling to hit shots, like kind of like helps bring that conversation, back to like, all right, well, I guess we'll see, who offers more if they can continue to show a little bit more to end the year, and if they feel good about him in the summer, like, what they might decide to do with Devontae Graham. I don't know Devontae's exact numbers, but I think he's shooting like less than 40% from the field. And he came off the bench last night against Utah. So like, just like you still don't have Trey Jones, and Blake continues to get like more minutes. Like, just keep that in mind. Watch like the last 15 to 20 games of the year. Like, see how it starts to look, because like if Blake's able to kind of just prove like, hey, I can be productive, I'm not just like lost on defense and I don't know the plays, like I can add something to this team, then then you can start to feel a little bit better about like maybe moving on from Devontae Graham in the summer.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree with that, and I think I was always like more on the side of like, I see Devontae Graham as being more expendable than the rest of us, just because like, in my head it was like, well, I think I'd rather want to see our young guys play a little bit more and trust in the ideas of their potential more than knowing what we have with Devontae, right?
I think it's pretty low. It's pretty low risk. You either help him revitalize his career and give him a role with us, or he becomes some kind of valuable veteran piece that you can move, or you know what I mean, or he plays well enough to get you something better. You know what I'm saying, or blah blah blah. The normal expiring deal talk that you have with veterans and all that kind of stuff. I will say, like, when it comes to Graham, from his first game till now, my favorite moments of him is when he's finding his teammates, and when he's breaking somebody down off the dribble, but it results in an assist or at least a look. That's been to me where I'm like excited for him to be part of the rotation and those kind of things, versus like when he's out there and you can tell he's kind of like has that shoot first mentality at the moment or whatever. It just feels different, right? It's like, okay, like I'm cool with this, and if he's making a bunch, then sure. But at the same time, like, what is that helping? I'm like, is that every time he shoots, I'm like, okay, is that helping this guy? Is that helping this? When it's like, no, not off of an assist, but just this was his possession. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and I think he's been pretty smart with the ball at times. Like he's real shifty. He's got to be shifty to have a career this long. You know what I'm saying? Finishing amongst tall people and all that kind of stuff. So when he's able to like use that, but then find his teammates, that's just been my favorite part of his game.
My favorite part's whenever Zach Collins throws the ball out of bounds because he cuts instead of staying outside on the 3-point line. It happens.
Yeah.
And it's cool because like, there you see like those moments where it's like, okay, like he's understanding the offense, and then you see those moments where like, oh, this guy just got traded here. He's still got to figure it out.
Yeah, and I like Pop's reaction because Pop just tried to calm down Zach and be like, hey, it happens. And Zach was not having it. He was all like upset, and he like immediately subbed out because his sub was coming in. And yeah, just like there's moments like that with Devontae where he is kind of doing his own thing or doesn't know like everything. I think he even like made the comment like he's like I'm still living out of my suitcase. He barely went to San Antonio
Yeah,
during the All-Star
exactly.
break, and so like yeah, there's a lot to still develop there. I guess just keep in mind like see how the end of the year plans out. I have no idea when Trey's supposed to come back.
Yeah,
I know.
Pop said that it was like unexpected, right? Or that it was
Yeah.
kind of not a freak injury, but that it was just like we don't really get it yet.
Yeah, exactly. And the good news is for Devin Vassell is he might come back this next Thursday against Indiana. So, we might. I know a lot of people have forgotten what Devin Vassell is. So this will hopefully he comes out and can start off strong and add a little bit to the team and show like how good of a player he is. I guess that's a good thing
It's
because
a it's a
we'll
perfect segue to
yeah
go into our next topic, which is, again, we were talking about Jeremy, we talked about Blake. Now it's time to highlight the main piece that we wanted to talk about today, which is our main man Malachi Brand, him, as some people put on Twitter. But he's been amazing. Malachi through the month of February has been amazing, and so literally like I've been loving every single thing that I'm seeing from him. And even before February when we were seeing it like develop, when we were seeing, oh man, like he's so close to just knocking down this shot consistently, he's so close to just making this look so good. And then now we're starting to see it like start coming together through this month of February. But over Twitter discourse, we've been getting a couple Spurs fans a little upset at our guy Keldon. Obviously Devin's not here, so they haven't, nobody's really thinking about him. And now we're starting to get conversations about whether or not Malachi might be the second best player on this team. So I wanted to hear your guys' thoughts. I had a little bit of discourse on Twitter myself, just talking about it and figuring out where my mind was on it. Personally, I think he's around like 3 to 4 on the team because again, we haven't seen Devin play. I firmly believe that Keldon is better, and then like Jeremy is also better, as well as like I want to argue the fact that like Trey Jones would be better. We just haven't seen Trey in a minute, and we have been seeing Malachi be a lot better. So, I want to hear your guys' thoughts. That was just my little idea, I guess, on where I would place Malachi. But let's kind of let's dig deep into this roster and see what we think, where we think that we would want to put Malachi. Chris, I want to start this with you.
Right on. Well, I'll just start by kind of saying what you were saying, which is that like as time has gone, it's just been crazy to see like I haven't seen him in a while, man, like struggle with he just always seems to like have a better look than everybody else on the court, right? Like and it's mainly just the way he moves. The way he moves, he's able to find himself in these positions. Even just like last night, it wasn't even off of anything he did. I think he caught like a rebound off the rim rebound, and he was like somewhere in the paint area, but he catches the ball and he's got two defenders in front of him, and it doesn't really look like that's the shot, right? He gets the rebound. It kind of looks like the move is to dribble it back out, pass it back out, let's reset for the 14 seconds and go from there. And instead he kind of just like shifts his body to the right real quick and just like the ball's up and boom, it's in. I was like, okay, like my brain didn't tell me that that's where he should go. It didn't really look like that's where he should go, but that's where he felt he should go. And you know what I'm saying? And it just feels like he's just like naturally getting to where he wants to go. So, man, I can see how that can lead you to think, okay, a guy who's self-sufficient means that his ceiling's higher, means he can do more, means he can, I can see where like that kind of stuff comes from. But ultimately, I just think it's too early. You know what I'm saying? I saw a little bit of that conversation you were having on Twitter about Trey Jones. And I think that even just the fact, even the other guy who was kind of giving his side of it, the numbers that he was giving were kind of comparable to Trey Jones, which I think at the end of the day was what you were saying, which is that there's an argument. And it's not clear that he's better than these guys just yet. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of where I would sit too. I mean, I think you cannot judge. We didn't really talk about Keldon side of it just yet. But I mean, I don't think you can judge anything about these guys are happening without once you get rid of Jakob and when Devin's been sitting out for so long, we've gone stretches without Trey Jones. You're trying new things with a guy like Jeremy Sohan and putting the ball in his hands as a point guard. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's just so much that's not functioning like a regular year to really like put down Keldon too much, in my opinion. So I'll be with you. He's got to be in the top 5. He's got to be in the top 4. You know what I'm saying? And then you start to have your talks.
Yeah, so like obviously it's like a lot of people are pretty high on Malachi, which I am too. I love Malachi. I need to go back and watch our video in the summer, like on the rookie predictions, and see what exactly I said. But I loved what he like provided like in the summer league and what he looked like. And I might be a little bit like Sean Elliott, where like big headed and like, oh, I was right. Like I called this a long time ago. But I loved it during the season when Sean would be like, "Hey, Malachi's he's gonna explode one of these days. Like he's there. You know what I mean? Like we just gotta wait for it to happen." And then like you would look at the box score and Malachi would be like 2 for 9 shooting, and you'd be like, "What is Sean talking about?" Like, but when I'm watching the game, I feel like the same thing. It's like he's getting to his spot, he's making the right moves, he's making the right decisions. He doesn't turn the ball over that much to me. I don't. Like he makes rookie mistakes, and so like those are always fine. This whole team making turnovers sometimes is just like kind of what Chris said, like the no Yak, no point guard. Like it's a lot of stuff that's just kind of inevitable. But Malachi, I feel like has obviously the month of February like exploded and thrived in this system, and I think some part of that is just kind of being like the second to third option. But at the same time, I think he is that good. I think he is that like efficient and like safe. Like he's a good player. You know what I mean? He doesn't turn the ball over. He takes the right shots. He doesn't force things. And people bashing on Keldon, but I feel like he just had his best month. I've like looked at the stats and his February, his numbers are all up. His assists are up. And I feel like those two things, like they do go hand in hand. Malachi's like surgeons, because Devin's been gone, has helped Keldon play better basketball again, because he's not the only one on the court by himself. And it's like when Keldon's out there by himself, everybody's like upset at him. We've always known like that's the type of player he is. He is the offhand. You see last year with DeJounte how well he played. As soon as you start to give him like Devin or even Malachi now, like he looks better. He looks, when he's not this focal point of the defense, Keldon looks great. As far as ranking goes, I guess, I don't want to be too hasty. I love Mal. I love what he brings. I am like one of those guys like watching the game where like I get too excited. Like I feel like I've messaged like my buddy PJ and been like, okay, Malachi's our best player, because like he'll have like a 2 or 3 stretch. But I do that for everybody. I've done that 2 years ago with Keldon, where everybody on the team struggling. DeMar can't do nothing. DeJounte's not doing anything. Keldon takes the ball, scores like 3 straight buckets at the rim. Like Keldon's our best player. Like he's the only one who can get it done right now. But that's because he's afforded that opportunity from the third or fourth option on the team, and he takes advantage of that. So like as far as ranking goes, I'd still put Keldon and Devin above. Keldon just has way too much responsibility on his shoulders.
Yeah.
And he provides. He does more, and he still is providing more than what Malachi does. And they're playing the same amount of minutes. It's not like Malachi's playing 20 minutes off the bench and doing these numbers. Like Malachi's playing the whole game. He's starting, and I'll still take Keldon and Devin over him. And I saw a little bit of what Jake was saying, like the Trey Jones stuff. I'll take Jeremy over Mal right now because of like I guess the idea, the potential of like what more he could be, the size he brings, But the Trey and the Malachi stuff, the more and more like I think about it, I'll take Trey because of his body of work and what he's provided up till now. Like Malachi's had 1 month.
Early. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just too early. And also like literally all the things that you said about Malachi, about trusting him and all that kind of stuff and making right decisions. Like how many times have we said that about Trey Jones, right? Doesn't turn the ball over. And yeah, they both have deficiencies. You know what I'm saying? The game that everybody's talking about is Malachi, the number 2 player on our team, the guy has like 2 turnovers of just not being able to get a entry pass into the post. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, and that's just, and yeah, you can chalk that up as a rookie mistake, but it's also a dumb mistake. You know what I'm saying? So it's like things. You know, that we're so at the beginning, but
I would say like he has moments where he's the best player on our team on the court, like that
yeah,
night or that half or that quarter or that 5 minute stretch. But just like the body of work, the consistency over the time, he's still a rookie, and I feel like it pops up. And even like I would say the Mavericks game, which I think what sparked a lot of this conversation again, was he started off like great. He had a great first half, and he did so much for the team. He was making the right passes. He was scoring efficiently. And if you look at the end of the game, Keldon still did more and provided more, like throughout the whole course of the game. And Keldon was just as efficient and driving to the basket and did everything. And it's just like you don't want to be like negative. People are just happy and like excited about Malachi, but then they start to tear down like
yeah,
Keldon and Trey Jones, and it's just like these Keldon was the same kid 2 or 3 years ago. Everybody was like happy about him and trying to get rid of Rudy Gay and all these other guys, and now they're doing the same thing to Keldon, and it's just like Keldon's still a baby himself, and he's still growing. Look at Lauri Markkanen, like how many times he's bounced around. He looked great in Chicago those first couple years, right, Jake? And then
Yes, like
kind of
his
started.
literally his first year, like it was such a solid year that like you're like thinking of like, man, like this Laurie kid's like he's going to be another like Kristaps, like another guy that's like in that vein. Obviously, Kristaps at the time was doing his thing, So like you're like, wow, like these guys they're like 1-1, like he's gonna be amazing. And then the second year happens and he's just stayed the same. And you're like, that's interesting. And then I think he had like one more year in Chicago, and it's just like, again, you're just like, okay, well now like he's just not even getting better or whatever. And then he ended up like getting like quote unquote worse in Chicago, gets traded, and you're just like, well, that's it. Laurie's just a role player for the rest of his career. And then finally he comes to Utah, and now that man was an all-star starter this year.
Yeah,
So
and he wasn't having the best game last night, and he pretty much closed the game for Utah. Like he helped flip that game in the fourth quarter and close it for them. And it's just like I guess I brought up Laurie because it's like, progression isn't always like so linear. It has its ups and downs, and Keldon is having to just burden so much. He has so much of a burden on his shoulder that you might not see all the development he's making. Like he's not one of those John Morant where like they go from year one to year two, year three, like they're just immediately like superstar. Like it's gonna take him a little bit of time, and these moments are good for Keldon in what he is having to learn and grow through. That like the same way I talked about like Malachi being the best player on our team some nights. If Keldon's on this team, like going forward, and say you do like land a top 3 pick, and he is the guy, so now you're in a playoff series. Well, Keldon's got like all this experience and all this growth and the type of player he's becoming. If Keldon can be your best player 2-3 games, out of that playoff series, like that is such a win. Like think of all those moments where Timmy might have been struggling or whatever, and Tony was the one who had to do it, or Manu. It's like I feel like Keldon can be your like best player that night on a really good team. Like with as he just starts to grow and learn, but this like I don't think it's a negative. Like if Malachi turns out to be better than Keldon, well, Keldon's still really good in my eyes, and you just got like 2 good players, and Jeremy and Devin, and like whatever top pick you can get this summer. Like I don't know. It just seems silly to me, all the like the negativity like on our older guys, and then like kind of like propping up the young guys like as if we haven't seen it with our older guys, and they're already ready to throw them away. Like, what if next year Malachi only averages 17 points a game? People are going to be mad at him because
or
he's
what,
not averaging.
or what if Malachi has a bad March?
Yeah, exactly. Like, if he doesn't average 18 points a game in March, it's like, it's a little frustrating. Gets my blood going because like you've seen all the young guy or the older guys, like they've developed and they've shown what they can do, and people are just ready to throw them away because they're not like all stars already or the number one option. And I think some of those expectations are a little unfair, anyways, to begin with. Like putting that pressure on your guys and holding them to a standard that they're just that's not them. You know.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. If I saw a single thing of discourse talking about Devin Vassell should not be a Spur next year, I'll be the first person to stop that to stop that notion because it's exactly what you're saying. Like these guys on the team, like you don't have to have those expectations that they're going to be the best players on a championship winning team. That's just never going to happen, you know. And then I mean I can understand like the fan frustration because of the thing of like you look at like the other bad teams and they at least have like a Jalen Green and LaMelo Ball, whatever. Like, you know, like they have like the names, the guys that are supposed to be your second and best players on, you know, your championship teams. But I don't think anybody's really thinking that Keldon Johnson or Devin Vassell, at the moment at least, you know, are your second and best players on the championship team. Definitely not best, but you know, I'm kind of thinking more like, you know, second best and third best players on your team, you know. So like that's kind of like where I understand that it can be frustrating because we do not have the talent on our team like the other guys are.
But also like but also if a guy like Devin Vassell was not if a guy like Devin Vassell was not hurt all year long, we would be I mean we wouldn't be I don't know if we would be at 28 win threshold where the Lakers are sitting in 13th seed, but we would be much closer to LA than we would Houston. You know what I'm saying? So like we wouldn't be I don't know. It would,
Definitely not a 16 game loss streak.
yeah, exactly. We would have and the same. I mean, same thing with the Hornets too, right? If the Hornets didn't have so many injuries, they would be winning more games too. So, but I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, no, and I mean, you know, I don't want to steal this Keldon Johnson topic and like start talking about Devin. We can kind of talk about Devin a little bit later.
Well, hopefully he does come back this week, so we could talk
Yeah,
about him
so
Sunday.
that's exactly like you know, I want to talk about just like the idea of like bringing him back and all that kind of stuff. But for now, let's keep it on the Keldon Johnson topic and I mean, you know, like I feel like Juan brought it up like a couple weeks ago, and it was really good. It was like a really good thing that I've always tried to keep whenever I like think about it, and that is that like Keldon Johnson is averaging 20 while being the guy that they're focusing on the most, you know, and that is something that's like, all right, you know, like it's not pretty. It's not pretty most of the time when he gets his 20, but he's getting it. And that's good. That's like, you know, kind of what matters because like, you know, like he's just developing. He's just understanding the game that much more while having to adjust, you know. And nobody is expecting Keldon Johnson to have to be the first option on a team like this ever again, you know. But it's just what the situation is for him right now, and he's just trying to, you know, put his most out, you know, and not just not just like let it like go by him, you know. So like I love what I'm seeing from Keldon now because yes, at first I was like, man, like I'm kind of not liking it. Now I'm like, man, like you know, keep doing what you're doing, Keldon. Like I love what I'm seeing on the court.
And if you're a Spurs fan and you could watch him have to be the primary power forward for large stretches of like 2 or 3 years ago, and you could understand that this is not where you wanted him forever, but that is just where we needed him, and that it was going to serve him for some good lessons in the future, then you can have that same mindset with where he is now. You know what I'm saying? Because our team is just incomplete. You know what I'm saying? And so we're headed there. Shout out to Adonis. He's been here before in a couple past episodes. And then shout out to Caps as well for chiming in a little bit. Devin is great, but doesn't account for more wins. I think it's more of just, again, like what we said before, like him coming back. It just helps to help everybody. You know what I'm saying? And everybody gets to be a little bit more comfortable in their preferred positions, and it just helps. Again, we're gonna get more wins when we are working as a team, and when we're a more complete team is when we could do that. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. I think that's just kind of where I was headed.
Yeah, you're probably not gonna win like, you know, if we lost 6 in a row, we're probably not gonna win 8 or 10 of those. Yeah. But you're not gonna lose 16 in a row when you have like
you just have sprinkled W's in there, you know.
Yeah, and just like we saw it the Miami game where Devin was able to close that game out, and and hit. I don't know if it was the game winner. What you probably remember more, Jake, but like he closed
The
out the
the
game
game
against Miami.
closer.
Yeah, he
The
just was
game
hitting
closer.
bucket after bucket, and we've struggled a lot in fourth quarters, and like having Devin there, and now that Malachi is like blossomed into like a pretty efficient scorer, and he's hitting all his shots. I think he's shooting like 40% from three as well, so he could be a spacer. We're not even running point guard lineups right now, so I honestly would just start Malachi, Keldon, Devin, Jeremy, Zach. But if you want to like bring Malachi off the bench to keep him, like give him more opportunity, and he's not like having to take the back seat to both Keldon and Devin, that'd be fine too. But just like if you just think about that lineup, right? Mal, Keldon, Devin, like I feel a whole lot better about that lineup already. And I love Kata. Talked about him so many times. He brings so much, but it's just like your ceiling is raised, right? Like you start to like have more of like a not a complete team because we're far from that, but like their lineup, like you feel more comfortable about that, and you're not like too. Oh, I guess now that I'm thinking about it, maybe you would bring like Malachi off the bench because you got Jeremy on the starting lineup too. Somebody's gonna lose their shots when Devin comes back,
Yeah.
and so like I don't
Let
know.
let let Graham and Malachi kind of be the ones from that bench.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to see it. And we can wrap up what this Keldon Johnson topic was about, which was just saying that like I think we all believe that Keldon is really solid, a really good player, and that like there's no reason to exactly what Juan said. There's no reason to like bring Keldon down in order to bring Malachi up, because again, if Malachi ends up being better than Keldon, then you just have two really good role players on your team. That's not it doesn't make Keldon worse because Malachi's better. So
Yeah.
you know, it's one of those things where give it time, look at the process, and like we'll definitely see a better Keldon Johnson uh, by the end of this year and then going into next year.
And
So
there's still moments where he gets to the rim and uses his body extremely well. Um, Finds exactly what he's looking for off the glass or any of those kind of things. Like you just don't see him as much right now because his role is different. You know what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
and literally the same way that Malachi had a great February, if Keldon Johnson comes out and shoots decently well from the perimeter, has even just like a decent month, he's gonna look tons better. You know what I'm saying? But it's just that's all. That's all. I guess that's what I'm trying to say is that's how fickle it is. You know what I'm saying? It's like just give him some time. We'll be all right.
I still believe that once Keldon is able to become more of a catch and shoot 3-point shooter again, we're gonna have 2 to 3 40% 3-point shooters on the team, soon,
Yeah,
kind of stuff
I,
like that.
I don't know what happened to his 3 point shot. I mean, it probably has a lot to do with like the workload, and like having to be a lot of like the offense, for the Spurs, and maybe that like wears him down. But like in the month of February, he's only averaging zero point 0.7 makes per game on 3.8 attempts on 17% shooting. And like every other month, he's been around 6, 5. The start of the year, he was taking like 8.9 per game. Um, so it's like he's stopped taking as many 3 point shots, but his field goal percentage is up in February. It's his highest of the year, and he's making 49% of his shots. In the month of February, he still averaged 21 points,
Yeah.
5.2 rebounds, and 3.7 assists.
And
Like,
getting to the rim to do it. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
getting to the rim and efficient at that, and helping out his teammates. I guess the only thing I would say about Keldon that I wish was that he would try, like Pop said, like we don't have a defensive leader, somebody that the other guys look to and go, all right, well he's doing it, I got to do it. And I don't. I mean, I know Keldon's got a lot of burden on his shoulders already. Like,
Yeah.
but like if Mal's coming back and if Devin's coming back, like to score, then maybe like provide a little bit of that defensive side of the ball and help rally the guys, because that Utah first half was something where it's like, oh, we're getting after these guys. What do you know? And hopefully, like maybe Devin coming back to end the year, like and Jeremy, Malachi, all these like scoring output from everybody else, like everybody can kind of not have to feel like they have to score as much, but now feel like they can defend a little bit.
Yeah.
I agree. I know this doesn't like this isn't going to like really be comparable at all, but I understand that feeling because of just playing rec ball and like going out there and literally like, okay, either today I'm gonna like put my all out on defense and work on the boards and do all that kind of stuff, or all right, today I'm gonna like let somebody else be the defensive big man and I'm gonna try to work my hardest on offense and be around for offensive boards and all that kind of stuff, because it's tough. It's tough trying to be two-way. It is really tough trying to be two-way. And again, this is not like it's really hard to like make the situation like comparable because I'm not an NBA player, not an athlete. But like, there are those days where I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna play defense, or okay, I'm just gonna play offense. Like you can't really like like it's hard to say that you want to do both ends and be like efficient at doing both ends. So it happens. But
That's why they get paid, though.
that's why they get paid. That's why they get paid. That's why I'm a college student and just playing rec ball. um, but yeah, we're kind of finishing up on our Keldon Johnson talks, and it's bringing it right back into like just what our post All-Star break looks like. What we want to see from our guys, stuff like that. I know Chris just added this right here where we have our end of the year checklist.
Yeah, my bad. I didn't realize the post All-Star break was that one.
No, and it works perfectly though, because it's a good question of just like, what do you want to see for the end of the year, and personally for me, this is where I finally get to bring it back, where I finally get to steal this part and just say, Devin Vassell coming back. I am so excited. I am so excited to see Devin come back, and like I'm gonna try to like make sure that my expectations are as tempered as I can be, considering that man hasn't. I don't. Did he play at all this year? Like in the year of
Yes.
2023.
He played January 2nd.
So he played at the like first game of our calendar year for us, and like hasn't played since. So he's coming back a couple months later. I'm gonna try not to expect this guy to drop 25, 50 points for me, on his comeback game. But like, I'm so excited to see Devin come back. I'm so excited to see him come back to form, and just everything that he brings to the table. Like it's gonna be some good stuff for sure. And I'm just excited to see, like, in a sense, if Malachi can keep it up, three like 17 plus point per game scorers on the team working, and seeing how our offense would look. I know our defense one of the worst in NBA history, and it's tough to see that kind of stuff, and we want to see improvements on that. I guess I'm more just at this point. I'm more just like, all right, well, let's see what we can do to polish these guys on offense, since our defense is just so bad.
Yeah.
But I would say that's my biggest thing. Juan, what is something that you would want to see?
Well, obviously, we're all excited for Devin to come back. I'd like to see what he can provide. I'd love to see him. I know he's coming back from injury, but like kind of bump and get himself into that 20 points per game. Also, I want Devin to be our leading scorer on this team. Now he probably has more of the tools to be like the 3-and-D type of guy, or not 3-and-D because that's limiting him, but like the defensive guy for this team. But I just want to see like Malachi continue to like be this efficient and this good. And Jeremy, I really want Jeremy to just continue to be aggressive. I don't mind him taking these shots. I think for Utah, he was like less than 50% from the field, but like he took over 15 shots. And like, to me, that's awesome. Like, I love that. And I just want him to continue to stay aggressive. It's really about like, I guess Devin coming back. I want him to just shoot a lot and get back into rhythm, attack the basket, and help open up the floor. But just like kind of like, how does this team look now? Because I guess from the last time Devin played, Malachi and Jeremy were not this aggressive and not this like efficient in scoring. So now how do they all look together? How are they going to have to work it out and share their shots? And now you got Devontae Graham, who likes to take a lot of shots. So like, I just want to see how this all like works out. We don't have that many games left in the year. I believe I'm going to the game next Saturday. I think, what is that?
Saturday, March 4th against the Rockets.
Okay, no, not. Is it March 4th?
No, it's definitely not March 4th.
We have Friday, March
Oh, it
10th
is.
against the Nuggets. Um,
I think it is that one then against the Rockets.
right on.
I'll be going to that one, so be on the lookout for Jeremy Sohan triple double. I'm calling it right now. I don't know if he's had one this year, but uh, he's gotten close.
Very
So
close.
it just I'm just excited for the young guys to continue to grow, and Blake as well with that group. Um, I guess if I had to call anything, there was a couple podcasts, or maybe it was like a month ago, 2 months ago, where I said, "Hey, Jeremy Sohan's going for 20," and then he went for like 30 against Phoenix. So I'm on board. I'm calling the Jeremy Sohan triple double. Um, I'm gonna get a. Well, I guess it's gonna be hard for Devin Vassell to get a 30-point game in like 2 tries, but I'll go
Yeah.
for Devin Vassell 30-point game.
I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it.
Yeah, right. He's gonna be on minutes restriction and play like
Yeah.
15 minutes, and we're
Yep.
not gonna even see him.
Yep.
Hmm.
So
Or he's like he winces once and it's like all right.
yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. No, it's something exciting for sure. We're talking about Jeremy, and I really wanted to bring this up earlier. So this is my one time right now. But I think I saw like some podcast uh, talking about Jeremy or something like that. And they're saying that like who was it was all right, so it was Lonnie Walker, right, Lonnie Walker was on a podcast getting interviewed, stuff like that, and it was really cool to see. They're like talking, and they're saying like, is there something that, like, has like kind of popped out to you, whatever. And he talks about Jeremy in this moment, and he says like Jeremy was talking trash to LeBron, and LeBron was like, don't do that,
Said,
and then
remember you said that or something like that.
yeah, exactly. And so then like LeBron like ended up cooking Jeremy or something. I don't know. I don't remember what game he was talking about. I'm gonna like keep suppressing Lakers beating us. It is what it is, right? But but it was really cool because it's like, man, I love the fact that Jeremy is not afraid to go at these guys.
I think
Not
Pop
afraid to go at
even
these
said
guys at all.
something. Pop said like Jeremy's different. I haven't had a guy like that, talk that much trash in a long time. Pop said something like along the lines like that too. So it's really cool. And I loved what you said earlier. Like, he's not afraid to back down. That Chris Dunn stuff. Chris said like he creates the contact. Like, I don't know. Clearly, Chris Dunn didn't appreciate getting like fronted or posted up like that, and how physical Jeremy was. And holds on to Jeremy so long. And Jeremy's not afraid to just throw him off. And was like, Jeremy's not afraid, and it is like refreshing. The Keldon Johnson excitement and yelling. I know that can get on like people's nerves, like competitors. They don't take too kindly to the like a guy flexing or like yelling like all the time. So like that's refreshing. The Jeremy Sohan stuff is refreshing. Like we haven't had that like as Spurs fans in a long time. So it's fun.
It's a lot of fun. These young guys, man, they are something else. And then like it's like one of those things too where for my favorite player Devin being like, I mean, like, he gets active on the court and everything, but like, when he gets like the silent knockdown, like the silent closer, I'm
Yeah.
just like,
Well,
I'm
that's
like,
yeah,
that's him.
and that's
He's
his.
him.
That's his. He's the opposite. He's the smooth. He doesn't got to be as loud. So, and
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of where I'm going too. Like with like, what do I want to see? It's like we get to see our guys like character and all that kind of stuff really shine through when they start to play for each other and they make good plays and it breeds success. And then you get to see Keldon start to yell. Then you get to see Devin start to act out a little bit and get into his groove, right? So like I would love for that to happen, right? And of course, that just means we got to be healthy. So, like, I want us all to be out there, so that we can start to just kind of maximize this version of the Spurs, because this is not the end all for like what we want to do for next year and this and that. But you maximize what we got, so then you can see what changes need to be made and all that kind of stuff, right? So, first and foremost, I just want us to be healthy so we can go to see those kind of things. But I agree, like what you're saying, like. Devin's coming in, and we have a little bit more offensive weapons now, being able to rely on Malachi a little bit more, having Graham out there. So I'm excited to see where it doesn't feel like it's got to be him and KJ leading the way every day offensively. You know what I'm saying? Where now you can kind of sprinkle in more Malachi, more Brandon, that hopefully opens up more Doug, you know what I mean, just to have impact. Because even Doug has to force up more shots right now in this iteration that we've been in, and so it overall kind of limits his effectiveness. You know what I mean? So I'm so excited to see Devin come back. I hope that they're not too conservative with him. I'll be honest. Like, the more that I think about it, somebody had mentioned, I think maybe it was Mike Brown or somebody had mentioned, like, we come back from All-Star break and teams are either gearing up for how they're going to close the season or they're gearing up for playoff runs. And, like, that's where everybody's head is at, right? And I know we're not making the playoffs and all that kind of stuff, but it still just kind of feels that with getting Devin back, it just kind of feels like we're going to be in a position to kind of be more at full strength and kind of be playing more decent basketball as we finish the year than we have in the past 2 months. So I just feel like we're gonna not finish in like 30th place. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I have to like put it in my brain that like we're not gonna lose more games in Houston. Then I look into the East and you got Detroit has 15 wins and then the Hornets have 19 wins. I feel like we're not going to lose more. I don't know. Like, I just feel like we're going to be stuck like within the bottom four for sure. But I don't think we're going to be like the bottom two. So I'm like, if that's the case, I don't mind us trying to just play as well as we can. And if we win a couple of these games to finish I'm not going to, it's not going to break my heart. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so that's kind of where my head is like leaning towards the end of the year is like, I feel like we are going to have a shot to be more competitive and win a couple of these games. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think it's also something that's like it frustrates me. It's like cool, but it also frustrates me like in the sense that just like we had to shut down our second best player for 2 months in order for us to be like the second worst team in the league. And these teams are playing with number 1, number 2, number 3 draft picks on their squad and are still at the bottom of the league the way that we are, Like I do look at like our team and I look at the Houston, I look at Charlotte, I look at Detroit, and I'm just like, man, like why are y'all like down here with us?
I mean, Charlotte had to sit guys for extended periods of time. Detroit had to sit Cunningham for extended periods. He's still out, isn't he?
Yeah, he's
like I agree, like to an extent, like a lot of it is injuries, and like it's stuff like that. But like to me, it's also like you're clearly managing your team to be at the bottom, not to compete. Like and so yes, like we're in that group of people as well. But look at who's on our team and look at who's on their team, and it's like, man, like you can understand why we are playing at the bottom compared to a team like Houston, compared to a team like Detroit, compared to a team like Charlotte, And again, Charlotte less, Detroit a little less, Houston's the main culprit, and they're the worst team in the league.
Yeah, but I mean we've talked about it before about the talent, but versus how you nurture that talent. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a reason it's taken 8 years for the Timberwolves to be worth anything instead of 3. You know what I'm saying? Because they've had the talent to do it many years ago. They just weren't mature enough to do it. You know what I'm saying? So Houston is a whole other issue, man.
Mm-hmm. And it really is something that does bug me where like I don't know, I am kind of fishing for like a I hope I hear
you had tweeted something the other day that I was like, yeah, you're right. As soon as you pointed it out, I was like, heck yeah, I'm right there with you, which was like, okay, Houston, we'll take the next 10 of your first round picks for like the owner being out on the street like saying pray for Wemby or whatever.
Yeah, it's like you are like you're blatantly tanking. Adam Silver said at the beginning of the year that he did not want to see tanking. Like yeah. I'm like throw the hammer down on these guys. They do not deserve to get a guy like Scoot or Wemby.
Yeah.
Like there's no reason why Houston should get to have that glory kind of thing.
I'm like 40% hater energy and like 60% like it's the right thing to do, for everyone involved. But because it's Houston for sure, especially I'm the exact same way. I'm like, all right, so how can we scoot you guys out of here? And obviously that helps us. But like, yeah, I'm not a big fan of how it feels like they're about to get rewarded for the year that they've had. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. So that's just like one of the things that like it does bother me to see that in the NBA, and that's like one thing that me and Juan have kind of talked about when it comes to like the NFL and the NBA versus the NBA, and that is just like these teams are tanking and these teams are just like blatantly bad. Like in the NFL, you're not really seeing tanking, you're just seeing bad teams. Like
You see tanking towards the end of the year in the NFL,
yeah,
but like a
Theirs
lot
is
of that.
theirs is on that game to game basis. You can't tank. You can't go in there with the mindset of you got to feel like you got to win all those games because they all count. So if you just get
Yeah,
one, you can convince yourself to get to the next week and get the next win, and so
yeah.
on and so forth.
yep, no, exactly, and I guess real quick as we're kind of like wrapping this up, there's like always like those kind of talks with the NBA, and obviously we're a Spurs podcast. We only really talk about San Antonio, but we're obviously involved in like a lot of the things when it comes to like changes in the NBA. And so like I know like one of them is like the shortening of the season, and like I mean, what do y'all think about that? Like shortening the 82 games.
Are you saying that this is they're proposing, or because
Yeah, like
I've heard it before, but like why are you bringing this up?
but just because we are kind of talking about like a little bit of just like what can we do to change tanking? What can we do to like
Oh.
keep the NBA a little bit more involved, or keep fans more involved with the NBA, and make it more entertaining while also not in
I
a
mean,
sense like hindering the players.
I don't know. It's tough because we just said it right now. Like, uh, the Lakers are 28 games won, right? 28 wins on the year. And if they were to have won 3 more games, they would be in the playoffs as an 8 seed. If they were to have won 4 more games, they would be as close to a 6 seed. If they would win 5 more games, it'd be as a 4th seed. You get what I'm saying? So like, the Western Conference is very competitive. The Eastern, it's like I don't know, like I feel like the league is we're in a pretty balanced era right now, right? We've gone away from a lot of the three-headed snakes and all that kind of stuff. So like, I like where we're at. You know what I mean? My only beef with the league is that our team isn't joining the party yet. You know what I'm saying? That's my only beef with the league. So, fans are fickle because there's more things to watch. I don't,
Yeah.
so you, in my opinion, you have to make the basketball games got to be great. So that means you just got to have great players ready to play every night. You know what I'm saying? So I guess that goes into the load management stuff, right? And that's probably why people don't tune in, because who knows if the players are going to be around? They might just be sitting. So I don't know. That's why people, again, that's why they get paid the millions of dollars, because they got to figure that shit out.
I also think it's a product of the NBA being more brand focused on players and then like bumping up their teams. Like
Yeah.
there's a lot more focus. People care about like, oh, I'm only going to this game to come watch Kyrie Irving play like against, but it's like that's cool, for people to do stuff like that. But like I go to games because I'm a Spurs fan to watch the Spurs.
Yeah.
Like
That's true.
I don't go to watch other players. I don't go to watch other teams. Like I guess at some point in my life, I probably should go watch a game where the Lakers come to town so I could say I watched LeBron James. You know what I mean? But like like I just said, like that's barely come up in my life. So like, but that's like the market and the brand for the NBA is like so player focused and all this stuff, and the players are part of the business in the NBA. So like they're not worried about that. But like I don't know. To me, it's a problem. That's why the NBA is a little wonky in that like they prop up. There's more concern about these players than it is about like the teams and your chance to win. Like I feel like fans aren't like as big as fans of their teams anymore, their areas, as opposed to just being fans of like I want to see a guy double dribble and carry the ball 40 minutes a night. And like it's that to me is the problem. I don't think it's the game. I don't think it's the schedules. They already took away like the 3 and 4 nights, and I had mentioned that on Twitter, is like people talking about like the load management stuff. We used to rest Tim Duncan and Tony when it was like 4 and 5 nights and 3 and 4 nights, and then they would make you play on prime time. And it's like, Pop would just be like, all right,
Yeah.
Tim's 35 years old. He can't play tonight because like his body's going to fall apart if he does. And, like that stuff is different. And I don't know. That's just my take on it. Is I feel like it's solely focused on like people are upset because oh wow, like Kawhi didn't come play in Cleveland tonight, and this is the only time he'll be in Cleveland all year. Like I get like that. For some people, they want to see like Kawhi. Maybe a guy moved from like LA, or like if like Donovan Mitchell didn't play in um like in Utah, that he only goes to Utah once a year now. Like all those Utah fans might be upset because they grew up watching him. Like those type of things I do get, but like all the other little stuff, I have no sympathy for. Like, I think it's just whatever. It's like it's like we've talked about the NFL. Like I don't feel like that's a problem in the NFL. You know what I mean? Like if Justin Jefferson misses a game, like millions of people are still watching or going to watch the Vikings play. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like
Yeah.
I
I mean,
just
it's tough though. I mean, like they are different. They are different when your roster is 50 whatever people big versus
yeah.
the you know what I mean. But we'll see. I mean, the CBA. I've been feeling literally since Kawhi Leonard requested to leave San Antonio. That's how long it's been that I was like ready for the NBA to like, okay, what's gonna happen when the CBA comes up, because there's no way in heck that the league enjoys. They understand that it's hurting them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That we've swung too far the other way. You know what I mean? Like they understand that. So when's their opportunity is when the CBA's up. So I mean, like I feel like a lockout would be pretty highly likely, because I don't think that the players want to leave this era. You know what I'm saying? You got a guy like Kyrie Irving, like you were just mentioning, say stuff about like, oh, the people talking about the load management stuff, it dehumanizes us. You know what I mean? And it's like you can have sympathy to that part of it, like you said, and the struggles that they got to go through, and we understand that. We understand the preservation of players, but at the same time, we also have to find the balance. And right now, it's swung the other way. You know what I mean? So,
Mm-hmm.
and you are right. The fans usually get the short end of most of those decisions on both sides. Not to defend the organization 100%, because they'll do things that are anti-fan all the time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They'll trade the guy who is giving you the reason to go watch their team in the middle of the night, for something for some nefarious reason or whatever. So,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah. No, that's cool. That was a good little ending discussion. I'll bring it real quick back to just like San Antonio, and like, is there anything that you guys are wanting to see within like this, like next week or anything like that, like anything before next podcast that you're, other than Devin Vassell coming back, is there anything for y'all, like any final concluding words?
well, speaking of the standings and just kind of knowing where you're gonna be at, we're gonna have the Saturday and Sunday back to back against Houston. So obviously that's important, right? In determining. So all the things that I just said about not feeling like we're going to end up down there with Houston, we could lose both of those games, and now all of a sudden we're neck and neck, and now everybody's at each other's throat again about wanting to lose every single game to the end of the year and all that kind of stuff. So, who knows how it's going to go, right? But just to kind of wrap up, I just want to see us compete. I want to see us compete. I was able to watch both of the games this week, the Mavericks game and the first game against the Jazz. So I'm gonna try my best as we finish the year to kind of just keep tuning in and keep watching. I mean, I'm kind of proud of the fact that we as a group have been able to keep having shows throughout the year. You know what I mean? It's not the prettiest season, and that's okay. You know what I mean? So, like Juan said, we're here to root for the Spurs, and it hurts when some of our guys have to leave because of that. But that's why we're here. So we'll continue to be here. I'm gonna keep chiming in and keep watching. So I'm excited for the rest of the year. That's it.
Yep.
Juan, anything?
Jeremy Sohan triple-double. Calling it.
There you go. All right. Well, as we do wrap it up, it is customary that I do mention that we go live at the 10 a.m.s every Sunday on all three platforms of Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. All three of which you can catch us live during the 10 a.m. Or if not, then you can catch the VODs on all three platforms shortly thereafter. Make sure that you do follow us on Twitter at Here's Half Court, where we do talk about the Spurs on the near daily. Again, shout out to Chris for being able to get us a good little bit of a spotlight, a little bit of popularity with that banger tweet. So I enjoyed seeing it. It was a funny little clip. I implore you guys to go out and just see the little tweet. But yeah. With that being said, I hope everybody has a wonderful Sunday. I'm currently in my basketball season as well with intramurals. So like I'm my body's like hurting because every Wednesday I have to get ready to play some basketball and I'm actually pretty good at the boards, man. I'm like I'm out there not Dennis like, but I am out there like kind of calculating. All right, the board's gonna go over here. I'm gonna make sure I'm ready for it or something like that. I see my teammate running down the floor. I'm like, okay, he's gonna probably go left, so I'm gonna push right on this board. And so it's things like that where I don't know. I love that I like. I'm actually not bad at like offensive rebounds. I'm not again. I'm not Jeremy. I'm not out there getting put back dunks, but I am out there getting offensive rebounds, faking my guy on my put up, and then I get a little and one. It's fun. It's fun. Basketball is a
Maybe
fun
like
sport.
a 2018 Kevin Love or something.
We have like a little group chat, right? And sometimes we'll like send pictures of ourselves, like this is us, stuff like that. And I always put myself as a Boris Diaw. That's me. I'm out there being Boris, and it's a lot of fun because all I do is just set picks, facilitate, and then get boards,
Yeah.
be board man. So it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. But yeah. With that being said, guys, I hope everybody has a wonderful Sunday. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy your week. Can't wait to talk about some more Spurs basketball next week. With that being said, we are out. Peace.